people of the internet. Selfish woman ruins 12-year marriage to find herself. Shout out to MTR. I did hear this story before. I saw a few other content creators react to this. I know I typically review a lot of MTR stuff as well too. I'm a fan of his work. And yeah, let's get into it. I think this is an interesting conversation. Let's get into this.
I walked away from a 12-year relationship with 2 kids. We had been together since I was 16 years old. You know, I had 2 children as a teenager. And I can honestly say that as young adults raising 2 children, we did pretty okay. But about 6 years into the relationship, I began to feel stuck. While he was sticking to and accomplishing all of the goals that he had set for himself, I was feeling like my life was just becoming like a revolving door of mother and wife duties. And then the goals that I had for myself would come last. I would come up with all these plans on how we could, you know, relocate to California as a family. And he would entertain it, but he never spoke life into it. And when it all hit the fan, I walked away from everything. And you know what was the hardest? The judgment and criticism that I received, especially from people I thought would be in my corner. After leaving that relationship, an overflow of blessings and opportunities started to come my way. It has been an extremely long journey of healing.
MTR's waving the red flag.
Outside of being a mom and a wife. I am that too, but I'm also more than just that. Now I am getting to know LaBrittany.
The more that I do content like this and the more that I watch the culmination of a marriage that led to a divorce, but you watch these women make a decision to become a single mother. You watch these women make a decision to not prioritize the marriage, not prioritize the children, but to prioritize their own selfish needs after making a decision to get married, after making multiple decisions to have multiple children. And the only thing that I can conclude is the woman of today is the most selfish being on this planet. See, the modern man of today.
Let's pause there. He's giving his take. I want to give mine. This is a very interesting conversation, man. This is a very interesting conversation. Shout out to MTR, of course. As I mentioned, of course, I'm a huge fan of his work. If you want to see his specific take on this video, I'll leave a link to it down in the description. I'm here to give mine. So let's recap, folks. You heard it there, man. The woman said, first of all, it's titled, Selfish Woman Ruins 12-Year Marriage to quote-unquote find herself. You heard it there in the clip, folks. The lady said that she got with her partner at 16 years old, right? Let's go through this, man, because I'm kind of passionate about this topic, man. I understand. I understand. So let's recap. She said that she met her partner at 16. They had kids at 16. 6 years later, which would have made her 22, right? She got a divorce. She walked away from her family. Of course, I saw clips of this online. So 16, she gets with her, has children with her husband, got married, whatever the case is. At 22, she says she leaves everything behind. I got to start fighting myself. I felt like I was putting my priorities to the side. You know, I'm not just a mother. I'm not just a wife. I was telling him about my aspirations. He didn't really seem to be as enthusiastic about my aspirations as we were about his aspirations. I wanted to move to California. He wasn't really with it. This, that, yada, 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 yada. Long short of the story, or if I'm even saying that correctly, she leaves her family. Now she's saying she's living her best life. Opportunities have come in, this, that, and the other. And this woman did receive some backlash online. I did see that. I think I originally saw this story on Instagram. Let's speak on it, folks. All right. Okay. As I usually do, I'm gonna play both sides, right? Because when I always say this, man, anytime you're in any time of, anytime you have any type of level of contention, right? People always rationalize their behaviors. People are always able to rationalize why they do the things they do, right? So in doing so, I like to kind of put myself in other people's shoes. All right, why does she think she's right in this situation? And why might some people say she's wrong in this situation, right? Okay. Here's my honest opinion. Okay. Again, quick recap. Met at 16 years old, divorced at 22 with 2 kids, walked away from her husband. Okay, 16 to 22. All right. In this situation, right, at 16. Let's just stop for a second and all think about where we were at when we were 16 years old. Let's have a moment of silence real quick, right? What were you doing at 16? What was your mindset at 16? 16 what? You're what? In 11th grade, 10th grade? She even admitted it started off well in the beginning. She even admitted, hey, all was well. We did pretty good for ourselves at that time at 16. She maybe had support. Whatever the case is, I would assume she had support. But I want all of us to stop for a second and think of, what were you doing at 16? What was your mindset at 16 years old? Right? We all know, whether you have children or not, whether whether you're an aunt, uncle, whether you're a parent yourself, whatever the case is, we do understand that being a parent, once you embrace the title of mother or father, that is no easy task. Once you become a father, it is no easy task. Once you are a mother, I would even sometimes argue, might get some backlash on this as well too. I would sometimes argue the woman, again, even just physically speaking, has to endure a lot more than us men. Let's just keep it real. Fellas, we don't have periods. We don't have a human growing inside our body for 9 months. We don't go through labor pains and postpartum, this, that, and the other. We don't go through C-sections. We don't go through this, that, and the other. So I would argue that it's a lot physically laborious on a woman to give birth to children, let alone two, at 16. Right. Okay. Right. Because again, I always say that we struggle with empathy in this world. So, right. So we all imagine what we were doing at 16, right? We all know what it means when you're married. When you get married, of course, and I always have my take, and maybe I'll speak on that as well too, in terms of my take on marriage, the institution of marriage, the binding of two people at 16 years old, right? It's a lot to take on those. My stance right now saying is that it's a lot to take on such titles of a mother and a wife at 16 years old. I think we can all agree with that. And I don't think anybody should be confused. I think we should all be on the same page in saying that it's a lot to take on the role of a mother and a wife at 16 years old. Okay. The lady says 6 years later, which will make her 22, she's like, you know what? I need to get back to what I wanted to do. I had goals, I had aspirations. Now, let's all stop, right? Let's have a moment of silence and think about what we were doing at 22 years old. What was your mindset at 22? What was your outlook on life at 22 years old? Where were you at mentally at 22, emotionally? Have you, quote unquote, found yourself at 16 or 22 years old? Everybody stop. Think for a second. What was I doing at 16? What was I doing at 22? Right? Now, ask yourself this. Could I have been a father at 16? Could I have been a mother at 22? Could I have been a father at 22? Stop. Think for a moment. Okay. The point why I'm trying to emphasize, and again, I'm playing both sides. So for right now, I'm going to play on her side for a moment. Hear me out. I'm going to play on her side for a moment off of the mere fact that we can all agree that 16, you know nothing of your life. You don't know yourself at 16, and yet you took on motherhood. Now, we hear plenty of stories. Oh, I was a young mom, and people turn out just fine. I get that. I understand people have children at young ages, and they're doing just fine. I get that. But mentally, emotionally, in terms of just character development, all of us can agree that you are nowhere near seasoned in the game of life at 16 years old. I don't think anybody should have any type of rebuttal towards that. We can all agree that we are not seasoned in the game of life at 16 years old. Shit, at 22 years old, you are not seasoned in the game of life at 22 years old. Again, 22 is at the age is where she said she's done. She walked away from her marriage, whatever the case is, and this, that, and the other. So now that we've all put ourselves in her shoes at 16 and 22, and we all can, for the most part, agree that none of us are really there, none of us really know ourselves at 22, this woman says she walked away and is now living, I don't know how old she is now, I don't know, whatever the case is. I can maybe get some context for that, whatever the case is, but she's receiving backlash now because she's saying that for her, it turned out to be the best decision that she ever made. Okay. So in defense of this woman, I'm gonna have a counter for her. But in defense of this woman, I kind of feel you. 16, you had a kid. 16, you were married. Those are some serious decisions. I'm 35, and I damn sure I'm 35 right now, and am contemplating. I'm at the point right now where marriage and kids are so unrealistic. It's not even funny. at 35. So for a 16-year-old woman to take that on, I kind of feel you. It's not shocking for her to say, hey man, 6 years later, I kind of realized that I don't even know myself. I had goals, I had aspirations at that time that have fallen to the wayside. I was not developed at that time. I think that's fair to say. Who here has a rebuttal against that? So in her defense, I would say, damn, I feel you. Because ask yourself this, and even for me speaking for myself personally, you know how many times I've quote unquote leveled up or changed my thought process or my thinking? My mindset at 35 is light years away from what I was at 25, a decade. And I will continue, you yourself as well too, will continue to grow and develop new ways of life and thoughts of blame. Maybe not drastically. As you get older, you're a little bit more, solid in your beliefs. You're not going to make any drastic mental changes or, moral beliefs or whatever the case is. But my mentality at 25 is light years different than my mentality at 35. Her mentality at 16, I would argue, is a lot different at 22. She would have another shift at 30, at 35. You see what I'm saying? So can we really bash her too hard for saying that, hey, man, as your life progressed, you learned and lived and experienced some things and learned that, hey, man, I thought I knew myself, but clearly I did not, is what I would say in her defense. Now, the rebuttal to that, right? Gonna play on the other side now. And what I'm seeing online is other people, giving her backlash, giving her flack, whatever the case is that people are throwing around the title that she's selfish. Oh, you're a mother now. How could you walk away from your children? I don't know if she's fully, and again, I'll look deeper into the story. I apologize. I don't know the full context of the present day. So I don't know how old she is now. I don't know if she's in communication with her, because I want to assume that she's in communication with her children, but clearly she's not married anymore. She says she's, found herself and doing a lot better for herself now. I don't know her present day, but I'm just speaking to the context of that video. Where I would play on the opposing side and say, I can see how people are calling it selfish, because we all understand that once you do take on the role of mother, no matter what age it is, 35, 45, a mother is a role that requires it's a selfless role. The instant you have children, there's a period of time, if we can admit, maybe not for your entire life, there's a period of time where you must be a mother. You now live for that child. Your priorities, your well-being in most situations comes secondary to your children, especially in the beginning. Okay, maybe your children get older, they can, walk and talk and do their own things, whatever, they can feed themselves, they go to school, whatever the case is. Okay, you can maybe lighten your responsibilities or your, dependency or whatever the case is, or your children can lighten the dependency upon you as they get older. But in the beginning stages of childbearing, okay, I don't have children. I know plenty of people. I'm surrounded by people that have children, whatever the case is. Once you become a parent, you no longer are living for yourself. You have a whole human being that you are in charge of. So the reason why she's getting the title of selfish and, oh, she's a bad mother is because you can't just up and say, oh, I need to find myself now. Right? Oh, well, this mother thing is a little bit, it's like, you're a mother. This is the cards you were dealt. It's like getting dealt a hand. I don't play poker, whatever the case is, but you got dealt a hand. You accepted that hand. You got to play that hand now to the best of your abilities, especially with children. This is not a card game. You got dealt the hand of motherhood at 16. That is the hand you were dealt. You can't just put that hand down. Oh, reshuffle the deck. redo. It doesn't work like that. We're talking about human lives here. Again, you see how I'm playing both sides here. So it can sound contradictory to what I'm saying, but in terms of the responsibility that comes with motherhood, right? We all know what it takes as a man. From the outside looking in, I think I have a good understanding of what it takes to be a mother. That is no easy feat. But at the same time, when you are a parent, when you have taken on the role as a father or a mother, you no longer are living for yourself. You got to take that hand and deal with it. Period. So here's what I'm saying, folks. Because in my personal life and people that I see on social media, I know situations somewhat like this. Kind of, sort of. To the extent of, you know, again, I'm fairly older. I have a lot of colleagues right now who have children, family members, this, that, and the other, whatever the case is. It's no easy task to be a parent. A young parent at that, at 16. As I said as well too, we're all humans. We're all developing as we're learning as we go. We're growing. Our philosophies, our ideologies are changing as we learn, as we experience. Again, I'm 35 now. My mindset now is pretty solid, of course, as well too, but it's light years different than what it used to be. 35, 40. The person that you're going to be 10 years from now is not going to be the same person that you are today. You see what I'm saying? So again, playing both sides, I do believe that though, I do believe in the philosophy that you kind of got to take the hand that you were dealt. All of us are at some point are going to be dealt a shitty hand, bro. There's some people that are living in circumstances that are worse than yours. You see what I'm saying? There's some people that grew up in poverty. They didn't ask for it. They grew up, hey man, they didn't make excuses. They figured it out. So I can see how she's getting backlash because you can't just up and say, oh, I want to, figure out now at 22, she made this decision, right? Again, I don't know how she is now, but at 22, she made a decision. I don't want to be married. I don't want to be a mother at 22. And we can all argue and say 22 is also still fairly young, let alone 16. At 22, she wakes up and decides, hey, I no longer want to do this. You can't say I no longer want to do this because it's too late. You've done it. You're in it now. You see what I'm saying? You're in it now. You're a mother now. That's never going to change. Your children are alive. God forbid, I would never wish, I'm sure she's not wishing death or whatever the case is on her children. But as long as your children are active members in society, they're your responsibility, especially at that age. Now, I have seen situations, of course, we see this a lot, it's fairly common as well too, where a mother may start to resent her children because of these same sentiments like, damn, I did have a life before you came. Because, keep in mind, of course, we're all, aware of the fact that some people plan to have children and some people do not plan to have children. Some people, let's just call a spade a spade. Some people have children by mistake. Let's just call a spade. And some people plan, hey, next year we're going to have a child. They'll be here at the end of this year, 9 months. I'm going to do the 9 months. So some people go in, which of course I think is ideal. I also believe that children should be brought up in a two-parent household under the institution of marriage. I do believe that. Although, again, I question the institution of marriage, but I do believe in terms of structure and stability, I do believe I grew up in a two-parent household and it did wonders for me. I'm appreciative of that until this day. So I do see the value of raising children in a two-parent household under the constitution of marriage. I do agree with that. This is a very interesting conversation is basically what I'm trying to get at. I see the perspective from a humanistic standpoint, right? If we can, again, practice some empathy and put ourselves in her shoes, we can all agree that that's a pretty hard hand to be dealt at 16 years old. Come on. That's a hard hand to be dealt at 16. 22, again, I was nowhere near. At 22, me personally, I was still playing at 22. 22, the light bulb didn't come on for me. Some of y'all, of course, that know me personally, I tell this story all the time. The light bulb didn't come on for me at 25, and I still had a lot more work to do. 25 was when I realized, damn, man, I'm doing this life thing all wrong at 25. And then I started taking the steps of getting my life on track at 25. So for the light bulb to come on for her at 22 and say, hey, man, I need to get back. Who am I? I don't know who I am. I had goals. I had aspirations. I need to figure this out. She's entitled to that emotion, but you're going to have to do that, sweetheart, with the title of mother, with the title of wife. Again, okay, we see the divorce rate now is easy. So if you want to divorce, that's one thing. Because nowadays it's 50-50, divorce rate. People are getting divorced left and right, whatever the case is. No shade to any of that, whatever the case is. That's here or there. That's neither here nor there. But I'm saying, take the hand that you were dealt and play it to the best of your abilities, is basically what I'm saying. Especially when it comes to parenting. There's some things that, okay, cool, whatever the case is. Reshuffle the deck, whatever the case is. But parenting a whole nother human being, you can't just hey man, I don't think I want to do this mother thing anymore. It's too late. There's another human here that is depending upon you. You see what I'm saying? Very interesting conversation, folks. I want to hear your thoughts, man. I feel like those are all my points for right now. That's all that comes to the top of my mind. At least, that's the emotional and logical reaction that I'm giving to this right now. But I definitely would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you make of this, folks? Are you able to empathize with this young lady who says at 16 she got married and had children. At least she got married and had children at that time, of course. You know, some people just, you know, at 16 had a kid, whether, you know, what the circumstances were, didn't even have that stability. And she admits that she was, you know, started off well in the beginning. But are you able to empathize with her at least a little bit? To say like, damn, man, yeah, that must have been a little bit difficult for you at 16 to get married and have children. We could cut her some slack on that, right? 22 years old, you're 22 now, you say, hey, man, I don't want to do this anymore. How do you feel about that? Is she wrong for having that realization? Can we really point the finger at her because that light bulb came on for her at 22? I don't know. I think, again, the only friction that she's running into, which I agree as well, too, as a mother, as a parent, so any of you guys out there, again, I'm not a parent, you kind of got to take that, bro. Whether you're a father, where you're a mother, young father, where you plan for it or not, man, once you are a parent, you are no longer living for yourself. You are living for the well-being of the human that came out of your body. You see what I'm saying? Can you still have your goals, your aspirations? Absolutely. You just got to figure out how to do it now with children. Period. And again, of course, in the earlier stages, it's going to be a lot more difficult. But as your children grow and get older and become a little bit more independent on themselves, you can maybe, cut yourself some slack, whatever the case is, get back to it, get back in the gym, get back to the drawing boards, as they would say. But once you take on the title of parent, I am a father, I'm a mother, you gotta own that role. And that's why I don't agree that people should just be rushing to have children, rushing to get married. These are serious decisions. Again, at 35, that's the last thing I want to hear right now, because I'm being real with myself. I know where I'm at in my life right now, and having a kid is not realistic for me right now. It's just not. So you got to know these things about yourself before you commit the act. This is not just some video game we're playing. There's human lives that we're talking about in this situation. You see what I'm saying? What's your thoughts, folks? I'd love to hear them down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, and subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you on the next one.